Forever Evil Argus number 2, written by Sterling Gates, art by Neil Edwards. So, last issue, Argus has been entirely destroyed by Forever Evil happening, and then Colonel Trevor needs to go get the president, because that's, I guess, kind of his main thing. Also, Dr. Light came back to life for like a quarter second. So, we open up on the Dr. Light thing. He's just screaming out at the Argus agents around him saying, "Hey, what did you do to me? Why am I dead? What's going on?" And Ed is telling him not to freak out, and he's just like, "Oh, tell me, where's my family? Bring me to my wife." And then he disappears. And he's like, "All right, well, I guess we'll deal with that some other time." Meanwhile, back at the White House, Steve is being attacked by Deathstroke's gang, which is himself, Copperhead, Blockbuster, and Shadow Thief. Which, if I could just take a second, Shadow Thief is pretty distinctly not a villain yet in this continuity, so I don't know what they're doing. Regardless, Copperhead's knocking around Steve, he unloads some gunfire, and then he starts bantering with Deathstroke. Deathstroke basically reveals, hey, the whole reason we're doing this, we're going after the president, is because Ultraman of the Crime Syndicate wants the president to kneel before him on live TV, and then they're going to hang him from the Washington Monument. So at that point, Blockbuster gets involved, manages to separate out Steve from Deathstroke, and Steve sees the president and two Argus agents are being held by Shadow Thief. One of the Argus agents is already dead, or at least one of them, and so while they're, saying, "Oh, you have no hope, you're outnumbered, Trevor, there's no way you can do this," he's like, "Well, little did you know that all Argus agents have bombs on them at all times, so click," and then the bomb that is on one of the Argus agents, the one who's already dead, goes off, and it manages to separate out the president enough that Trevor can grab him, and they enact Plan W, which is literally just crashing out the window. So they manage to run their way into the forest outside the White House, which I'm gonna go ahead and say isn't a thing, but sure. And Trevor basically says, "All right, I'm working on a plan. I'll figure it out." So then we cut to Happy Harbor, Rhode Island, where we see a cat is licking at a puddle, and we are introduced again to Killer Frost. And Killer Frost is basically just super emo, saying, "I don't consider myself to be a villain like the rest of them. I just am villain by happenstance of I need to feed on like living warmth, and therefore that puts me at odds with most of humanity. However, Firestorm was able to heat me up, full pun intended, without them having to die. But now Firestorm is gone, and I don't want to have to go back to that again." So then she hears someone yelling out for help. It's a mom whose kid is stuck in a car, and he's just like, "I'm not really someone who's gonna do that, but I will gladly take the warmth out of your human body." And she's like, "Oh, but the car's on fire." And she's like, "Oh, fire, you say? Who caused that?" And we're introduced to this new character called The Hotness, which is just a early 20s woman who has fire powers. And so Killer Frost steps up and is just like, "Hey, you're looking pretty hot." And she kisses her, steals all of her warmth, and inadvertently saves the kid from the fire. And Killer Frost is like, "Oh, that felt great." But it's not the same. It's not the same as Firestorm. That sucks. And so she walks off saying, "I need Firestorm, or I need to find someone who can make me a new one." So back at Argus headquarters, Steve Trevor arrives with the president and basically lays down the law saying, "All right, we need everybody to focus up now. This is all we got. We're going to have to make do with what we've got. Mr. President, I need the Argus key." And the president's like, "But I'm the only one who can have that." And he's like, "I'm sorry, did I stutter?" So he gets the Argus key from the president, which basically allows him to open magical doors to different rooms and open like all of the Argus facilities, including the Black Room, which has a bunch of magic stuff, the Red Room, which has a bunch of extraterrestrial stuff, the Circus, which has a bunch of other dimensional stuff, and the last one he lists off is the Green Room, which everyone's like, "Well, what the hell is that?" So he pops it open, and it turns out that the Green Room is this bright green light that is essentially just a panic room that exists in another dimension. And he says, "All right, Mr. President and Etta, get in. And Ed is like, what? No, I want to stay and help you. It's like, I need someone to defend the president in case things go south on my side. So yeah, go ahead in there. So Ed is off the table, president's off the table. They're both in the green room, and Trevor locks the door. So then he goes looking for another room, and it turns out he's got one called the Wonder Room, which is essentially just where he keeps all of his ex-girlfriend's stuff. So he goes into the Wonder Room, and inside is a mirror that has the three weird sisters inside. And they're like, oh, we knew you would come back, Colonel Trevor, and we're going to take our debt that you owe us. And she's like, well, now, or Trevor's like, hold on now, weird sisters. You said you could see the future, and I need someone to see where the Justice League is. So how about we make a deal? And that's where it leaves off. So I'm okay with the green rooming concept. That actually kind of works, of just like, yeah, no, we used all this weird tech stuff to make an extra dimensional panic room. Like, I'm okay with that. It does have a voice which is talking to Etta and the president and like knows them even without them saying their name. So I'm curious if we get a reveal on that. But I'm okay with the green room. The Wonder Room, however, just seems kind of dumb. Like, you could have easily just had this mirror be in the black room. It's a magic mirror. Like, just put it there. But regardless, they did it here. Whatever. Beyond that, the rest of the story's fine. I think that it's not the most interesting one so far. I think I'm more interested in the fact that Killer Frost is introduced in this, because it seems like that could be far more interesting of a story of like, oh, we need to find like basically a new version of Firestorm, which I think is an interesting method of, hey, we kind of messed up the previous Firestorm and we are kind of just doing some course correction here. I don't know. It's got a lot of things that could pick up on, but by far this one is one where it's like not a lot is happening and it's analyzing a part of the DC universe that I'm not all that interested in. But it's not horribly written by any means, and it's just kind of there. So overall, I'd say it's probably like 6.5. It's above average, it's fine, but it's just not great. It's not even at that level I would say is like good, it's just fine.